So today's video is going to be very impromptu. Gonna be a get ready with me, so I'm just out the towel with all my brushes. Most of them I do have some in the pot, so that's what I'm gonna do. So Forma brand, which is the parent company of mophie 2, Jaclyn Hill Cosmetics, Lipstick Queen, are thinking of filing Chapter 11 bankruptcy. So I won't be talking much about the makeup, but it will be linked down below. Conclude. Nothing is 100%, like nothing has been finalised or pinned down yet. Any articles that I've read I will link down below. According to what I've read, sources blame the pandemic, which caused a 2-year slide in colour cosmetics, which I can see because I'm like, people sort of do a lot more. We're kind of back in the no makeup look phase. Like, it's not as common for people to do like heavy foundation and obvious eyeliner. Like, we're kind of not really in that stage at this moment in time. Like, we're not really seeing crazy eyeshadow as such. Supply chain issues, controversy with celebrity brand owners like James Charles and Jeffree Star, even though they're more like influencers. It was one of those where 2020 and 2021 weren't really years of buying a ton of makeup. Like, certain products are really just not being bought in those years. Spokesperson for Forma said Forma brand is engaging in constructive discussion with our financial stakeholders regarding ways to strengthen the company financially and enable us to reinforce our focus on the opportunities we see ahead for our brands. We're excited about the products we continue to bring to our customers. I think we need a bit more foundation because I'm like, this just does not look the greatest. Nor does my skin look the greatest. We're not having a good skin day, are we? no moves are set in stone just yet. This is just what's being talked about in terms of what to do. I like that might be a bit light now. Forma brand is the parent company of Morphe Lipstick Queen Jaclyn Hill Cosmetics. Morphe, when you think of Morphe, you do think of it as like this unthinkable makeup ship that will always be there, will always be super successful, will always be doing really well, will always have good products, will never be anything different. Like, it's like we just think nothing different will happen. Like, we just assume that the way Morphe is the way Morphe is always going to be. Like, we don't expect anything different. Morphe, there was definitely a time where Morphe was known as like this really successful brand that really had the hang of social media marketing and influencer marketing and all of that, which that was true. That was a brightening up my foundation. Like, we never thought that bankruptcy would even be on the table for Morphe. Morphe was definitely the social media brand of the brands. Like, no brand was nearly as close to Morphe in their league. Like, they're on a different league altogether. They were a talked about brand on social media. Like, I don't think any brand came close to the amount of talk about Morphe got on social media. Like, former brand, they own brands, but they specialise in helping to start up brands and helping brands like Rem Beauty, Ariana Grande's makeup brand. When you go to their website, Rem Beauty doesn't come up as one of their brands. The brands they have is Morphe, Morphe 2, Jaclyn Hill Cosmetics, Lipstick Queen, Bad Habits, and then they have a supplement brand, which I don't think I'd ever heard of up until this point. And they bought Lipstick Queen. Till researching this, I'd never heard of Lipstick Queen. like I just hadn't. Like it really wasn't a brand that was on my radar. Mophie was founded by two siblings, Linda and Chris Twally. They started the company in 2008 as a makeup brush line. They sold the majority of stakes of Morphe at the height of Morphe. So Morphe's not really ever been like an indie brand. Like they've always been kind of like a mainstream brand. They have been bought out and they created Forma brand, which is an umbrella company when they wanted to have more brands under them. Morphe is a brand under Forma brand. Morphe, in terms of going out of business, don't think it will happen, but it could happen, I suppose. Like, we don't know what's going to happen. The thing. I definitely should have done this before I did my makeup, because that just doesn't look nice on my skin. In with a full face, it'll look better. But definitely Morphe do need to make some changes in order to survive and not go out of business. Like Morphe kind of, I think, just got a bit stuck in their ways, like they're doing. They didn't think the makeup market would change, and then it did change, and they didn't really change with the makeup market. The beauty community is different to what it was 2016, 2018 time. Like, we're not in that same like time period like anymore. Like, the beauty community in a way has had its wave and it's now gotten off that wave. The beauty community is still really successful on YouTube, but it's like successful in a different way. People have like moved away from watching like big creators to really small creators. People watch smaller creators for their makeup reviews because they feel like they trust smaller creators' makeup reviews more than they trust bigger creators. But they feel like they get more genuine reviews with smaller creators. The makeup market was also crazy. It's definitely not as crazy as it was. Like 2014 was when it really started to get crazy. Like, I've got a video on the makeup bubble, which I will link all relevant videos to topics down below. If you want to know more about those topics, then it doesn't actually look too bad. But we have saved it a little bit down the neck, still not the greatest. Put a little bit of bronzer, maybe it might look a little bit better, but people are also not desperate to like add to their collection anymore. They once were, like, most people have got their collections and are happy with their collections and don't feel the need to add anything else much. People are not as crazy about every single makeup release as they once used to be. Like, there's definitely not the boom around new makeup releases. Like, people are kind of moving away from, like, the new and using up what they have in their collection. Like, no one's really rushing out to buy every single new makeup release because that time in makeup is gone now. Like, not really how it works anymore. There's also not really the mophie craze, which was a big thing on YouTube in like 2016. Was this big mophie craze. Kind of fizzled out in like 2018. Like, they started out as private labelling. Private labelling's not always bad, but I don't really know a ton, so I'm like, if you want to know a bit more about private labelling, I will leave Angelica Nykovist's video on private labelling down below. Because I'm like, she has the knowledge, like, she is the front of makeup knowledge. Morphe then, when they had the funds, they like started their own products. Morphe on social media was literally backed by like some of the biggest influencers of their time. Definitely a lot of these big influencers are definitely not quite as big now. This is me trying to sort out my neck just to make it a better colour. So it kind of looks a bit more with my face. Morphe definitely hunted out the next big thing, like Jaclyn Hill, Jeffree Star, James Charles, Laura Lee, Manny MUA, Jeffree Star. Plus more I put. Don't know why I put his name down twice. They had Morphe codes, they did dedicated Morphe product videos. Worked with Morphe, did sponsorships with Morphe. Had Morphe collabs. They worked with each other. They made millions doing these collabs. Now find my primer. Like, I don't really have a problem with it as long as they like the product themselves. They generally enjoy the product. And they like use the product and then these influencers at the top had that big falling and there was kind of nobody really underneath them. It was like, hey, this happened. That sucks. It's a shame, but Morphe is still good. Like, they didn't really have that. Like, they just sort of had these big influencers and then that was kind of it. Talking about Morphe, like, it wasn't really a thing to talk about Morphe after that. So it's like people questioned, do these people even like these products that Morphe are putting out, or do people don't like these products. Because it's like, what do we do then? Like, do we continue to buy mophie or do we look for something else? I'm going to be using this palette. Like, mophie had invested so much into... You need to tap, not at my phone where the notes are. Because I kind of load it up with a ton of pigment. Just to give it a base. Like... Kind of, there wasn't really anything next after these influencers. Like, you didn't really have the next thing after them. Like, it was them and then that was kind of it. Also, another thing was people were like questioning those influencers, and they would question whether if these mophie products they recommended were actually any good or not. Whether they just weren't any good. And whether these influencers actually tried the product. So it's like when people's opinions shifted of these influencers, so too did their opinions on mophie. Really took a shift. Not that I think this is a major reason, like it's not only like these influencers, not the only reason, but it is a reason. There are like 4 big reasons, I would say. And one of them is definitely mophie's quality, like in the MUA palette. Like definitely mophie's quality, like I don't view their quality as amazing. Not that I've tried it, but I don't like the look of any of their makeup. Like I don't think it looks interesting. Like I don't need a million warm browns when really I don't do a warm brown look ridiculously often. Like I don't just do warm brown, I do colourful looks quite a lot. But I don't need like 50 shades that are just warm tone browns. Like, I just think they need to do something else. Like, their qualities turned out not to be, like, fantastic. Like, the biggest turn off, because people didn't really like those influencers, like, people couldn't really trust their reviews as much. Like, people couldn't really be like, yeah, that review is genuine. It's like, they have a mophie code, it must not be genuine. Like, that's what the impression of people got was. This isn't genuine. So it's like people's perception of the brand really started to shift. Like, there was obviously the hype from these influencers of Morphe, but the quality alone wasn't really giving Morphe that hype. Kind of meant there wasn't a ton of hype there. I've never bought a Morphe product because they just don't really appeal. Like, there's not the appeal factor there. That's one thing Morphe really are missing, is the appeal factor. Like, what's looking appealing, making me think, yeah, I want to go buy a Morphe eyeshadow palette? If I just see tons of warm browns and just a pop of red, a pop of green, a pop of orange, I'm not going to be like, yeah, I'm in a rush to go buy that. Like, I think, do I want to buy that, or do I really just, I'm better off probably not buying that, is what I'm probably going to think. Like, warm brown's just not something I use. I don't ever need a £50 palette. Like, if I ever do need that, I would be very surprised, but nobody needs that many warm browns in their collection. Not to say I don't like neutral looks, but it's like I don't do them as much as colourful makeup. Like, this is a rarity for me, but even then this isn't really warm brown, this is gold. Like, I don't know if I use any warm brown colours. Like, there's also more makeup colours than just warm brown. Like, people want to see inventive makeup. Like, people don't want to just see the same that they've always seen. Like, people want to see different in order to make them want to buy it. Is to see different. There are brands whose makeups are much better quality than Morphe, but just as cheap. Like, there's Maybelline, like admittedly their eyeshadow palette formula I've heard's not great, but I'm like, they do other amazing products. Like, they do affordable lipsticks, they do concealer that's great, they do great powders, they do great everything but eyeshadow. Like, there's brands whose makeup I like better. Like, the only palette that I've really thought, yeah, that's exciting, is the James Charles palette. But I don't support James Charles, so I'm like not ever in a rush to buy anything from Morphe. Jaclyn Hill Cosmetics, I've not ever thought to buy anything. Like, there are affordable lipsticks, concealers and all sorts out there that's not Morphe. Morphe needs to definitely give the incentive to want to buy, like, like, yeah, I hate mophie. Cancel mophie. Like, yeah, I don't support them, but there again. If I don't support brand, I'm not going to show it on my channel. Or if I like, formula's a reason why some brands I just don't support. Also, I do think the Morphe code thing is a tad shady. Like, I don't like that shady stuff. But yeah, it could just also be them being pulled into the drama. Like, I just haven't seen a Morphe product that's like, yeah, I need to go buy that. It's like, yeah, you probably don't need to go out and buy that. Like, the quality's very much a so-so. Rather than a wow pop to go buy. Morphe, I find some of their palettes are just very lazy at times. Very lazy. Like, they do a palette that's like all browns and that. Then they have a palette that's, here's a pop of red with all the same brown shades. Boring, not innovative, not really. Made me think, yeah, I need to go buy Morphe. Made me think, yeah, maybe I don't need to go buy Morphe. Then they do one with a pop of orange and a pop of green. Like, they're just not good palettes. I'll look at that purple one, I'll say, but that still is quite samey. So. Morphe being pulled into the drama, I'm not sure whether that was really deserved, but I do think he probably did need to encourage their influencers, to be honest. Because they weren't really doing that, which is kind of a bit shady. From also what I see on YouTube nowadays, I don't really see any dedicated Morphe videos. Like, I don't see any videos that are like, go buy Morphe. That is done now, we can actually talk again. Like, also a lot of these influencers have their own brands, like Laura and Manny, they came back and they moved on, they had other things. Like, they've got their own brands. Like, a lot of these influencers do have their own brands, it's they've moved on to other things that are not Morphe. Like, Laura Lee has their brand, Laura Lee Los Angeles. Jeffree Star Cosmetics. Manny MUA with Luna Beauty. Jaclyn Hill with Jaclyn Hill Cosmetics. Like, they all have their own brands. So it's like they don't really talk about mophie as much. Mophie has gone from like having the backing of all these influencers to not really have a backing at all. Much on social media. Everyone's kind of past the days of mophie codes and that. Also, mophie had the backing of like the makeup market. Also, they have their brick and mortar stores. I've never really been to a mophie store, like thought to go to one. So I've been like, yeah, I need to go to a mophie store. Because I just haven't. Like, in the beauty community, there's also been like Dramageddon 2. Morphe got mixed up into the drama of like both Dramageddon. Like Dramageddon 1 was kind of the start and Dramageddon 2 kind of finished it off. It's got mascara on my nose. Gonna cover that up with concealer, or try to anyway. Covered it back up, so now I'm gonna close my palette drawer. Like, Morphe's also put so much into the Morphe brick and mortar stores. And then got COVID, and COVID was the time where people weren't really buying makeup in stores. Like, more makeup was kind of bought online and makeup preferences changed. Like, even mine, like, I didn't wear lip gloss during mask wearing because it would just stick to my mask. In terms of former brand about Chapter 11 bankruptcy, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. Like, they're still figuring out where to go. It's like there are brands that have Chapter 11 bankruptcy that are still in business, like Stila, BH Cosmetics, even makeup brands like Forever 21. I also will say I started my channel in 2020, and it's like the Morphe train had kind of stopped at this point. When I started on YouTube in 2020 and makeup in 2021, there wasn't a Morphe train like that. Had been and gone. A lot of people never saw this happening because there was the unsinkable ship, as mophie was known as. Like, I don't really support mophie. Like, I do have a video on brands I don't support, which I will link down below. Like, in terms of their brands, it's like mophie 2 I've never heard of. Mophie's not really doing so well. And then they have mophie 2, which I'd never heard of. Jaclyn Hill Cosmetics. Then they have Bad Habits in their supplement brand. Not too sure how they're doing. Then Lipstick Queen, I hadn't heard of Lipstick Queen. Like, a lot of them I haven't even heard of until I started researching this video. So it's not really sure what any of these brands are really doing. So those are just kind of final thoughts. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, leave your thoughts and opinions down below. And I hope you've enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in another video. Bye.